There were literally millions of Ford Fiestas MK7 generations sold in the USA and Europe and actually all over the world, so there are a lot of common problems, but in this video I will outline only the most common issues that you will probably have to deal with if you have the MK7 Fiesta. And first of all is the steering column shaft problem. So the steering column shaft may start making noises. You'll hear these very bad noises when maneuvering on a slow speed or when turning your steering wheel when the car is stationary. You will hear this awful sounds. It means that the steering column shaft is broken and it will need to be replaced. The problem was solved in 2012 when Ford updated this unit, and after 2013 I think they stopped having these problems. So if you have this issue, you will just need to buy the newer steering column shaft and you'll be okay. The second issue that should be outlined is the steering rack. So the steering rack is pretty weak in the Ford Fiesta MK7. Whatever engine you take, the steering racks are all the same, and they are very weak, and they can't last even 100,000 miles. Even if you drive on good roads, if you drive on bad roads, it's 60,000 miles lifespan of these steering racks. Fortunately for these cars, they don't cost a lot of money, and you can replace it with some non-OEM steering racks, but in my case it didn't last that long. Anyway, there are options you can take. Also, there was a very bad issue with the fuse boxes that are located in the engine compartment. These fuse boxes could have problems with corrosion of the connections, problems with wiring, and it meant that you would start having a lot of different electronic issues in your car, and it's very hard to find that the problem is actually with this fuse box. But if you are having these electronic glitches, check the fuse box, maybe it needs replacement. Also, one of the common issues with all engines in the Ford Fiesta is the oil consumption after 200,000 kilometers or 120-130,000 miles. It means that the piston rings of these engines are not of very high quality, and they wear over time and they start leaking some oil into these combustion chambers, and so you have the oil consumption, and so you will need to add oil regularly to your engine, otherwise you will kill this engine pretty fast. I should point out the wet belt system in the 1.0 EcoBoost and also 1.1 Ti VCT 3-cylinder engines. So both these engines, they have the same constructions, the same blocks, and they have wet timing belt. This is like the timing chain, but instead of the chain they use the belt that was located inside the engine and was lubricated by oil. It was a very bad idea, and actually after 100,000 kilometers this belt started degrading, and parts of this belt started going to the oil filter, to the pump, and started polluting the system. And actually these engines may even die if you don't notice the oil light on time and replace the belt, filter, to clean the oil pump. So it's a very bad issue, and you should know about this if you own or are going to buy one of the Fiestas with such an engine. Of course, I should also point out the PowerShift transmission in American Fiestas. It was the 6-speed automatic dual clutch transmission with dry clutches, and it's probably one of the worst automatic transmissions in the world. It only lasts 100,000 miles, and then you replace the TCU, the clutch pack, and a lot of other things, and it doesn't make this transmission any more reliable. So it's still, you invest $3,000–4,000 in this transmission, and it's still like a bomb. You don't know when it explodes. So these transmissions are really good for driving, so the car is pretty economical, the car is good to drive, but they are very bad for servicing and repairing, so you should avoid high mileage PowerShift transmissions at all costs. And when it comes to diesel engines, there was only one problem: the fuel systems were pretty sensitive to fuel quality. So if you have the diesel Fiesta, you should use quite high quality fuel, clean, and also replace the filter more often than the manufacturer recommends. Otherwise you're going to have problems with the fuel systems that are very expensive to repair. Other than that, these cars are pretty reliable, and according to my experience of owning a Fiesta in Europe, I didn't have any major problems with this car. Of course, I'm servicing this vehicle pretty well and don't abuse the engine. But anyway, it's quite high quality car for the money you pay for it.